Okay guys, today we're gonna do an oil change on the GLK350 2013. There's two ways you can keep track of your oil. The first will be to note down the miles number that you have in total and keep counting up to around 6,000. I would not push it to 7,000, 10,000. But another one is to just simply keep the trip. At the moment you put the oil in, you zero it and you don't reset the trip. If you don't need to reset it, for example, in company cars it's a different story, but in regular cars, myself, I write it down on the log, but I keep the trip not reset the whole time. So as you see right now, I changed my oil 6,700 miles ago, which is way too long. I would suggest at between 5 and 6,000 miles, you change that oil if you can. It's just best practice. And right now we're gonna go ahead and change the oil and filter on this car, this GLK 350 of 2013, and I think most of these models have the same. They take fully synthetic oil. In my case, I put 540, and it takes around 6.9 quarts, up to 7, but 6.9 is to be 100% sure, and we'll show the rest in a second. Okay, what you need before you even attempt to change the oil will be, obviously, an oil filter. I find Wix does quite good ones. You need, obviously, the oil. In my case, as you see, I'm using 540, and what you need to see on this one, at least as a good practice, to see where it has approved by Mercedes, Porsche and Volkswagen. This is a good seal to see, and yes, it's the European car formula and all that stuff, fully synthetic. And the other thing, you need to have one of these copper washers for the drain plug. I usually change it every time I change the oil. And you need a means to remove the oil filter. In my case, I'm just going to use these caps. They go in a regular wrench, as you see right here, if I can put it back in there. It goes to your wrench, and that's all. And you can buy them in a pack like this from Harbor Freight. Pretty cheap, actually. And that's pretty much it. And you could do this two ways, either with a jack from the center after you remove the liners. The second way is to put the side jack, which I do not suggest, because especially when you're changing oil, it will not show you accurate levels if you don't measure the bottle. And the third way, and my favorite way, is with these ramps. These are not the most expensive thing you can buy. You can find them at Harbor Freight, if I'm not wrong, and they work just perfect. And I'm gonna drive on top of them, and you will see how good they actually lift the car. And as you see, the car is now lifted up. And as always, don't forget to put the stoppers behind the car. One in this wheel and the other one in the other wheel after you already engaged your parking brakes, or some people would call them hand brakes. Make sure they're good behind there. And the parking brake is at its very end here. Open the hood and continue the rest under the car. You open the hood first, and before you do anything here, take the beauty cover out and do not unbolt here yet. First we have to remove the oil bolt under the car, then we come back here. And the next thing would be to remove all these screws here. There's one here, there's one here, there's there, and there's a few more on the back. You have to lift all this panel out of here to reveal your oil pan. And now the cover is removed to reveal all your stuff. And this is what we're working with, the oil pan. And this is your drain plug that we will have to remove. And I suggest you don't do it with automated tools, because this is quite sensitive. Do it by hand, just like that, and slowly undo it. Just the first turn, then take the tool out and bring a drain pan or whatever you want to put under to drain it too. And now we have the drain pan under, and always a good measure is to wherever your drain plug is, you don't put that straight on the middle of the pan. You put it kind of towards the left side, so this drain plug will start draining, because at first it will start shooting to this side, and then you just let it drain, and we will continue the rest in the upper side. And let me take this out. As you see, at first it will start splashing, but I suggest you get gloves. There's a washer here that you will have. I usually replace it every time I change the oil, and make sure you don't lose it if you don't have a new one with you. Okay, by pushing the pin towards there, and as you see, now our oil will start draining. Okay, now after the oil plug has been opened and it started draining there, this is the reason I don't take the filter out first. So now I can open the filter just a little bit, so it releases pressure for it to actually start draining even better. And let's just open it a little bit. And here we go. You can just go to the end. And these oil filter caps are the best investment you can make for your car. They're really, really good. And here it comes. I'll take the oil key out and just put it in the side there. And here's our old filter. This is a filter housing on top. The filter is inside, and here it is. And if you don't want to make a mess, you just put the old filter in a plastic bag, just like that, and you put it on a side. And you can dispose it properly later on. And on the new filter pack, make sure you get the rubber gaskets. In most of them they come pre-installed, sometimes they don't. And there's one rubber piece that goes around here, and there's one rubber piece that you have in the old filter housing that you have to take and replace it with a new one. Okay, let me do the gasket here. Put it in the side, and as a good measure, I would say take just a tiny bit of oil in your finger or cloth or whatever. Make sure you don't put this filter completely dry on the filter housing, because you just risk to get it dried up later. And as so, you just put it back on, make sure it sits properly at the end and it's oiled up a little bit so it's not dry. And you do the same with a tiny touch of oil, the new filter gasket. And no, in the newer cars, you don't need to fill the filter housing and all that with oil like they used to do in the old ones. So in that case, you're good to go. And give your car, usually a better measure is to let your car rest, draining this oil for at least 15 minutes. I know some of you might say there's no need. Leave it 15 minutes and you'll thank me later, because it still has details that have old oil on them, and you just want it to dry everything possible. And at this point, you can go ahead and put your new filter inside your car, because the rest of it doesn't really require anything to do with the filter anymore. And at this point, when you put the filter back, don't fully tighten it, because the oil is still draining. So just leave it kind of halfway so nothing falls in it. And if you want to make sure you're releasing all the pressure and all that, you can do the oil cap just a little touch here. Open it just a little bit, as you see right here, and put it back in place, but not tighten it. And let it drain just like that for 15 minutes. Then come back and check if it's still draining under the car. And at this point, the oil is kind of done. These are just drips because I shook the car a little bit. And we're going to do this piece here that I told you should. Take the old copper washer out. It doesn't look that bad, but it's not really an expensive part. And you put the new one in, and you put the drain plug back inside, and we should be good to go at this point. It is. Put it by hand up to the point that the hand cannot drive it anymore. I suggest you have a nice measured bar, whatever you call it, so you know how many newton meters you're put it in, but in my case, I don't have one in me right now. I have it actually inside the house somewhere, but I do it by hand. Just tighten it to the point that you see kind of makes sense. You can feel it. Don't over tighten it because that's actually quite sensitive, believe it or not. And this is enough for me because I want to make sure I can take it out next time again. And there's no drips. Always when you put this back up, you time to time come under the car and check if there's leaks or anything in your gaskets and all that good stuff. And we are ready to go on top of the car. But before we do that, don't forget to put the panel, the plastic piece here, and then go on top of the car and fill the oil. And here the cover is on, and let's move on to the top of the car. And now we have to pour the oil, the first one, this out here, and open the first 5 quart, because we know it takes 6.9 to be exact. Quarts, you can go 7 sharp if you want to, but I suggest to keep an eye on that. Okay. You take the first bottle and just start pouring. Put it on the side and try to align it there. As you see, it's just pouring in a nice way. And this is 5 quarts. So since we need 6.9, and these bottles have the measurements here on the side, I like to add from the second bottle that I keep, I like to add exactly around 1.9. Around here, quarts are on this side, liters are on this side. From this side, I come up to here with oil. I throw that in, and then I just check the oil level again, and it should be good to go. Because as you see, on the new bottle, it's supposed to be 5 quarts sharp, but as you see, it stops counting up here. So it's easier just to add to the older bottle exactly the quarts you want, and that's how we don't make mistakes. Usually, it's a better practice to add less, so you're able to add more later. I'm not sure if I can show you here on camera, but if you put the bottle straight, it's filled up to here. It would be 6.8, almost 6.9 at this point. Or with a new bottle, 1.8, 1.9. I never go to full 7 because I want to check the oil level with a dipstick. Add this one in. At this point, I would say I'm safe to actually go because I know I put exactly what the car calls for, but the best way to know that is to check it with a dipstick because that does not lie. And after the oil change, you have to make sure the door is closed while you're in the car. Let me get out of here. As you see, you put the key in and you click it only once. Only once. Not when you see the gas and all that coming up. And there's a sequence of buttons you have to press. You click once, click this one and hold it, and OK and hold. But it has to be quite fast in order to function. And let's see if we can do it. And as you see, right now we are inside the vehicle data stuff, and we have to go down to Assist Plus, and you go to full service. We operated a full service, and confirm full service, click yes, and cannot be undone obviously. Confirm. Full service carried out. And now you reset the oil data on this car. And you can check here if you want to check the data for the service remaining time 365 days or 10,000 miles, which I would never let it go 10,000 miles. And these are just other tests that you can do and all that stuff. And now your car is ready to go. And as we said in the beginning, now it would be a good time to reset the trip and start fresh that trip from today. And to do that, we go here to trip and reset trip, click yes, and now it starts from 0 from today. So now you know how many miles are you gonna go with this oil change. And with that said, I hope you learned something from this video, and click like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye.